Oh, hi there. This is a three different version way of looking at a dream. Normally, I don't remember my dreams that particularly well. This one was only a few minutes ago, and I wasn't concerned about forgetting this one. Something about I don't know, chemistry makeup that my body is right now. I'll remember this a week from now because I know I will. Anyway, so what had happened was in the dream was there's this bus, right? And I was trying to get into the city from wherever I was. I wanted to get into New York. And why I'd want to get into New York, I don't know why. But that's how the dream was. And anyway, the bus not moving particularly fast, not a lot of people on it. I don't even know if that's indicative to any area surrounding New York. And I say, hey, does this bus go to New York? And the bus driver's like, goes, yes, it goes to New York City. And I get on the bus, and not really paying too much attention to what's going on around, right? I'm the only one who gets on the bus at that particular stop. And it's a standard bus, a little ramshackle, but it's a standard bus, right? Anyway, I go to sit down near the front because it was convenient for me. It didn't really matter because the bus wasn't particularly full. Anyway, these four or five guys show up, right? And they got some sort of thick accent. They sound like, like a comical New Yorker or something like that. Like, and this is remembering I don't even know a damn thing about the, geography of New York City. I don't know where things are or, anything about it because I've never been there before. So to me, it sounds like in my head, it sounds like they got an accent like they're from the Bronx or something like that. I honestly don't think I was in that area, but it's a dream, so you don't have to take it too seriously. And they're speaking in a thick accent that I couldn't quite get their meaning. It didn't make any sense to me. And then an old woman appeared in front of them, and she must have been she was somewhat tall at like 5'10" or whatever. They're all about 5'10", a little shorter than me, but not much shorter than me. And she was an Italian woman, something like that, or Greek possibly, or Gypsy, one of those sort of things. Anyway, she goes, "You took my seat. You took my seat." And I went, "That's odd. You weren't here before." And as I got on the bus, I was the only one who got on. The bus had not stopped at any point before that. So the woman was obviously standing, and like she may have been about 5'10", but she's quite feeble, and she was So I went, all right, here, you can have a seat. And those guys that were there, they started chirping at me, going, "You stole her seat! You stole her seat!" And I went, "Look, I gave it to her as soon as she asked. What's the deal, right?" And I guess my accent to them and their accent to me, sometimes they crisscross. You don't understand what the other person's saying. And I like to think as a Canadian, when I say something, it's clear what my meaning is. I prefer to talk that way. I don't like talking where you don't quite understand what the hell somebody's saying. Anyway, that was what the case was with these fellas. Anyway, someone I don't want any of this, right? So I get off at the bus stop and I walk, a block or two, and one of them fellas on the bus came out of nowhere and he fucking jumped on me. And this was on a, like a muddy patch of grass next to the sidewalk that he had jumped on me. And um, you know, there was a bit of a scrum, but I was able to almost roll my back as if I was a Ninja Turtle or something like that, and use both my legs to push him and like accelerate it. Like I pushed him, with both my legs quite far back, actually, further than I would have been able to in real life. because I can't run because of physical ailments right now, or very well, I should say, and other things. And he got pushed over, and it was odd because I looked down at where the scrum was. There was still two giant footprints that were visible, but one of them was my footprint, and from the shoe I was wearing. I believe anyway. I mean, I don't actually know what my shoe footprint entirely looks like, but in my head, I had in the dream. I had it that it was, my footprint, and he had his footprint. And anyway, he's disorientated over there now that I, just pushed him off of me with my legs, because there's more muscle mass in your legs than there is in your arms. It's easier to push somebody off with your legs. Anyway, I get up, and surprisingly, I wasn't that dirty. A little bit anyway. Most of the backpack, I suppose, that I had with me. And I keep moving, and I do some zigzags around the bus area that I was. So like, I don't believe he knew where I was going, right? And anyway, one of the things was I wanted to have some lunch, right? So I go, well, I want to get some sushi restaurant, right? And I was following the map that I had, just a Google map off of the phone, and I go into the sushi restaurant, right? And uh, I sit down, I get ready to order, and the oddest thing is the old white woman from the bus comes out, and she was the woman from behind the counter that was serving me. And because I like to sit up front, and I went, what the? Like, this is, supposed to be, like a 5-star or whatever sushi restaurant, like highly recommended and all that. And, everyone else was Asian who worked there, but she clearly was not. And the thing is, like, when it comes to, Japanese sushi styled restaurants and things like that, uh, I prefer that the people that do all the food preparation, do all the serving, who are the managers there and all that, I prefer them to be Japanese. Or Korean or from Hong Kong, I suppose is all right. But all in all, I prefer them to be Japanese. That's what I went to the restaurant for. I want to have that experience, and it's, I'm not saying that anybody else can't learn how to make sushi just as well as they do, but it's not the same thing. It's like I simply prefer them to be Japanese. That's all. I mean, they could be, of Japanese origin and speak with, Western accent. That's fine. But I've actually known um, a few Japanese dudes in different restaurants that were born here, but the parents were Japanese, and they spoke English like anybody else. And that I was like, yeah, all right, yeah, that's legit. And you will get libtards going, anybody. Well, I'm going. No, I'm going to eat sushi at a restaurant. I prefer them to be Japanese, if not that, Korean or from Hong Kong, and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean that it's inauthentic. It simply means that's my preference. That the people who are serving me at a sushi restaurant are Japanese. And believe it or not, there are people who actually get offended by such a statement. And it's like, shut up. That's, for the most part, what happened in the dream. Uh, it was spooky seeing that old woman behind the counter. She was white. There was no doubt about it. She was white. Some Italians don't consider themselves white or anything like that, but and same with gypsies. But she was white. Okay, that was the bottom line. There's no way she was Asian. There is a difference between those. Um, and it was just a really odd, spooky dream. Like I don't know, I don't know. But it got to me to thinking about another thing too, as I woke up, was that I had made a video about sound wave emitters before. I made it very poorly, as a matter of fact. However, there is no such thing as a sound emitter that can make you think a specific thought without other factors being involved. Because the technology for that is just not there yet. Um, they definitely exist, sound wave emitters. The ability to send an inaudible noise to humans, and other animals can pick up on it, and sometimes even they can't, like dogs and cats and things like that. And there are a lot of useful purposes for those sort of things. Um, they can keep wildlife away. Obviously you want, like for example, if you go to a park, you can't have somebody being mauled by a bear every week. So there has to be some sort of, during operational hours of the park, there has to be some sort of sound wave to keep that stupid bear away. Uh, I mean, I'm not saying that it's always a good thing, because it's not. However, I am saying it can have practical uses, and yeah, sound waves, they're not that advanced yet. Basically, they either give you a headache, or make you feel uncomfortable, various things. And part of the tricks about it is based on how you feel already and what social circumstances you're under. So it's a tinkering process where, a sound wave emitter will not get the exact results that it seems to get or wants to get. And, that's not lack for scientists trying to figure out how to make it work and make, sound wave emitters that basically they can program you from wherever. I don't know, maybe perhaps one day in the distant future, it's like, whether you like it or not, you have to sit down and watch Married with Children or something like that with Al Bundy, uh, and you can't avoid it. There's no, like, you stay away from televisions and things like that, and somehow you end up watching every damned episode of it. And it was like, this thought I had was like, what is going on here? And I use that as an example, because that's obviously stupid, but like, the whole point to what I'm saying is it's not Futurama where you have a visible advertisement placed in your head by an extraterrestrial source. That we're not there yet as far as technological wise. The only thing that is there is the ability to cause physical reactions, and that's usually a headache, uh, you know, uh, or based on whatever. If, like I say, you're a psychiatric patient or whatever medications you're on, or even if you're not a psychiatric patient. Remember, you're all test subjects. So the second you start taking medication on a regular basis from the government, you don't know what's in it, and it's not always the same, and they do lie about it. And your doctor may or may not know, and they may know, and they may lie to you. And a lot of people go, "Oh, I've been dealing with this doctor for years. I've been dealing with this pharmacy for years. Why would they lie?" No, they'll still lie to you, because their job is more important to them than whether they lie to you or not. Um, because the the identification of what a pharmaceutical employee or what a doctor is an ever-changing thing. They're not the same as they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and so on and so forth. Because they're trying to figure out what's the best way of training these people into, producing the best results. Yeah, so this brainwave emitter, I do believe there are inaudible sounds all the time around us that can influence decisions, but they're a long way from being able to put an advertisement in your head. Because I mean, in the dream state, dreams are often unusual, they're strange, and they don't make any sense, and it's whatever, they don't mean nothing. Uh, like most of the time, I've not actually enjoyed my dreams, but this dream, I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I remember it. And I'll remember a week from now, 2 weeks, whatever. And that's usually not the case. Usually, when I remember a dream, it's because I stumbled to a computer and I went, I better tell this dream so I have a video record of it before it dissipates in my head. This dream was different, however. I mean, I already said basically what had gone on in the dream, and then I started talking about brainwave emitters. Um, and the practical uses of them and things like that, because they have other uses as well. Like for example, when I was talking about bears, there are other animals and other creatures that can be affected by sound, and one such thing would be insects. Like you saw, I had the fruit fly experiment in a few videos before, and I've mostly done away with that because I got bored with it. I took away all the food sources. There aren't too many of them there. There's still a few of them in the bathroom, but that's because they want the water. Because it's getting close. The weather is getting colder, and they can feel it. And the thing about insects is you can fry them, right? But they're not as stupid as people think they are. They're fucking nutty little things, but they're not as stupid as people think they are. Like I was beginning to see like fruit flies twice the size of the other ones, right? And then going, this means this one survived, and it remembers me. And I especially got to fry this one before it gets away, because there's no way I'm gonna fry a bunch more and it survived that too, and it gets even bigger. Like fruit flies, uh, I have no idea how long they live for. Like I was under the impression they only live for 48 hours or something like that, and maybe they do. Maybe they only live 24 hours. But there has to be a reason why I was seeing slightly bigger ones, and I don't know what it is. I mean, I could Google it, I suppose, but I'm under the impression that Google lies about everything, so why would I go look it up when I could go see for myself? Yeah, so anyway, these inaudible noises can influence insects because they have some rudimentary form of a brain anyway. And what if, supposing one day, because they don't do it yet, because insects just aren't that intelligent. They don't have any knowledge of knowing how to do that. But theoretically, an insect could be bred that's like a housefly or like a fruit fly or something like that, that can be trained to fly up your nose and make its way to your brain and lay its larvae in your brain. Theoretically, that is possible if they're conditioned to think of that as a food source. That's creepy as hell. Part of the idea is where I got that from, and one of them, and I'm ashamed I even watched that movie, was From Hell. No, not From Hell. That's not the one. Oh, Drag Me to Hell. That was it. Sorry, I got the names confused. From Hell was a decent movie. It was, for what it was. And Drag Me to Hell, I absolutely couldn't stand that movie. Like, I had an opportunity to pay $2 for it if I wanted to, brand new, and I said, no, we're going to forget we even found this. Because I really did not like that movie. And even if I bought it for $2 and somebody went, "Hey man, I'll give you $20 for it," I would say, no, no, I'm not buying this movie because I didn't feel like buying it. I didn't want to buy it. Didn't like the story. Didn't like anything about it. And had I not watched it before, I may have bought it and not thought about it. But I had watched it before and went, I'm not watching it again. Forget I even saw it. Um, yeah, because that one I simply didn't like it. Um, yeah. So yeah, supposing some sort of a bug is programmed because it thinks that it's a food source to fly up your nose and land on your brain, and your brain is kind of defenseless in there. This whole, your brain is like Krang or something like that from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would be slightly inaccurate. Your brain, if there's something in there, it's quite defenseless. I guess you would know right away if an insect was in there because it would induce a lot of pain. But there are things like people used to think that earwigs would intentionally go in your ear. That isn't true, but sometimes some villagers in some, I don't know, pygmy little shanty town in, South America or Africa or Asia or whatever would pick scary looking bugs and drop them in places like your ear. And it would be like, that'd be a horrifying experience, even if the bug doesn't know what it's doing when it's getting in there. And I don't know the mechanics of what exactly your eardrum and what your ear looks like, or the nasal cavity and how it can lead to your brain or anything like that. Maybe it can't. I don't know. That's not my area of expertise, and I'm not that interested in learning. I'm suggesting a hypothetical is all I'm doing. That along with brainwave emitters working on humans, that they have other applications, and it takes more than simply hearing an inaudible noise for someone to be instantly programmed to behave a certain manner. It also, the other things involved which make it more complicated and more time consuming for anyone who controls brainwave emitters to possibly put this into practice. It takes conditioning, what what condition your body's in based on, whether you're taking medication or not. Uh, Also the inaudible noise, and the general consensus within the community or wherever, or the crowd that you are in, um, what the momentum is, or if there is any momentum or whatever. And the thing is, that would be easier to predict if most people smoked government sanctioned marijuana. And these dumbasses are so stupid because marijuana activists are the ones that like to protest things. Yeah, in the 60s, and it's common hearsay, and quite often that most protesters are smoking marijuana when they do that. Something about it is associated with freedom and the fighting against the man and all that sort of stuff. Isn't that convenient? You look at the movies that are coming out today. There's some people who enjoy those kind of movies. They're stupid as hell, but they like fast-paced nonsense happening all the time. They like those sort of movies. If they're smoking legalized marijuana, then theoretically, whoever is in control of brainwave emitters would know these people smoke marijuana from a government-sanctioned dispensary. So they know the chemistry makeup of that. They know what media they are. They know pack animal mentality, which there's many of them around. Um, and therefore, they can use a brainwave emitter to higher efficiency to do exactly what it is they wanted it to do. From anything from causing them all to, have a body shutdown, like if they, become belligerent rioters or whatever, um, or they'd have better control as to what they were doing. And these idiots, they would have no damn clue whatsoever because they're what I call pseudo intellectuals, most of them. I've yet to run into a marijuana smoker who I believe was of equal intelligence to me. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm saying I've never run into one, and I ran into plenty of marijuana smokers, and they're not a too terribly clever a bunch of people. They're not. I mean, of course, there are some that have been educated in things like that, and they know things I don't know, but it doesn't mean they're more intelligent than me. because you have to take other things into consideration. And that's not me tooting my own horn, although I could do that, I suppose, but that's me stating a fact. And these inaudible noises, they take more than simply the inaudible noise. I mean, there are inaudible noises that can make dogs go crazy, but that's different. That's not telling the dog what to think for say. It's telling the dog to go wild. There's a difference between that, and that has same implications to humans. And it's more than just the actual wave itself. It's socioeconomics. It's a whole bunch of factors that determine how people are going to behave, and the government has always been intensely interested on how to control their own people through brainwaves, MK Ultra, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, don't read the junk on the internet. It's all a waste of fucking time. They want you to go to government sanctioned places like the movie theater to watch that sort of stuff. And the movie theater is run by Hollywood, and obviously there should be movie theaters around like that. It's like I said about the movie Predator when I watched it. It was like Chicken Little 1943. Everyone around was just running around doing whatever the hell they felt like doing. And it was all Indians and no chiefs. And the one guy who was supposed to be like the Agent Keys, actually, Gary Busey's son was in that movie, was the black guy. He was supposed to be the guy in charge. And I'm like, if you were in charge of like a Domino's restaurant, and if I was the owner, and I saw you with your googly eyes, rest assured you would be fired very quickly. So there's no way, regardless of the stress level, that a man like him would be in any type of not Gary Keys, uh, Keys, the guy from Predator 2. He was the white guy who was going after the Predator, and he was described as the very last man in the world you want to fuck with. Um, anyway, this black guy in the Predator that was released was supposed to be, sort of like an up to date version of what Keys was. Gary Busey played him, and it was like, no, you're a googly eyed black guy, and there's no way you'd have that kind of power because he looked impulsive. He was. He straight up looked schizophrenic. He looked like he shouldn't have the job of anything of any significant power. He's only there to do what he's been told to do. And yeah, so there is a shift on the way how I guess the government, I'm going to say it, wants people to think. And these brainwave emitters, themselves, are not actually that good, although they're going to keep trying until they make them the way they exactly want to. But it's always every factor that contributes to certain things happening. And what had happened in my dream, getting back to that for a second, had nothing to do with that. I've had vivid dreams for a long time, and most of them I don't like, and that's a combination of booze and medication. And I used to have dreams as well before I was on medication, but they most certainly were exacerbated since I started taking medication that I had no choice of. Um, that is a thing, and like I don't think my healthcare professionals gave a damn about that. In fact, I think they would have rather it was deliberately done worse. So I do know a little bit about sound wave emitters based on my own experiences and through thought about the subject itself. And I think what I proposed as a possible way of how they're going about doing it is plausible. And again, this is another topic. I could be wrong, and if I am, please somebody correct me. However, I don't think I am wrong, and nobody's going to come along to correct me anyway. At least not right now. I mean, on the comment section. Um, but it is a solid fact. They are trying to control the human population in their own country fairly adamantly. And like a guy like Justin Trudeau, he's not the most powerful man in Canada. Who knows who the most powerful, evil board of directors runs the country? Justin Trudeau is the guy who's supposed to, be the puppet who gets in front of the crowds and talks to people. So he's doing his job, but he doesn't think too deeply about other subjects that are intricate, like, foreign affairs and things like that. But he does have more than one job than, simply observing how the Canadian population is doing. Yeah, he's got other jobs too. And he knows probably enough of each subject that he makes him a very knowledgeable person, but he sure as hell doesn't know everything about everything. You can't do because there's too many intricacies about everything. And based on what I've seen, and I see a cold, calculating man who wants to stay in power. And he was buddy buddies with Barack Obama, and he didn't say it as far as I know, but it's fairly clear that he'd rather Hillary Clinton had gotten in. Um, and when I say he didn't say it, he didn't. I've not seen an audio clip of him directly saying that he wanted Donald Trump to get in. But as we know, he's having a bit of a bickering match with Donald Trump over tariffs and things like that. And that may not have happened under Hillary Clinton, but that doesn't mean Hillary Clinton wouldn't have been running around doing bitchy things or even adding tariffs herself because she didn't like NAFTA. We don't know that. She wasn't going to tell the truth before how she won hypothetically. I wouldn't even trust her to tell the truth afterwards. In fact, I'd less trust her. I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't trust Hillary Clinton at all. And Donald Trump, he's not above telling alternate facts or straight up lying. I'm not going to say that because a leader of a country has to lie sometimes. It's the name of the game. Can't be helped. However, it wouldn't. What was I going to say? It wouldn't be, it would make logical sense for a leader of a country to make certain decisions. And I'm seeing what's coming out of Canadian media, and I'm going, okay, Justin Trudeau, maybe he didn't criticize to the general public that he didn't want Donald Trump in, but you look how the media is structured, you look at what his game plan is, you look at the state of California and how there is mumblings of them wanting to separate from the U.S. Never happen. On paper, it'll never happen. But whether California does economic ties more suited to their belief system, because the country, the United States, as well as any other country, is not a single unified thing. And if there's great enough reason, then sometimes power can shift. So the map is going to look the same in 50 years' time. It's simply economic ties could be different. And there are some people who think that California should separate and spread northward all the way to Alaska, taking over the British Columbia. I'm not saying I'm for that, secret society type of stuff. Like on paper, it would still be, Canada is this amount of area, United States that amount of area. But I mean, in reality, the whole California going northward and it being its own country, similar to how like Quebec wants to be its own country, not going to happen. And California, yeah, they support the marijuana movement, as people well know. And the borders are guarded to the most efficient way possible by the federal government, who does not like marijuana and I'm on board with that. I don't like marijuana. I don't think it's that great. I wish, it wasn't around. Um, that's my opinion of it. I like alcohol. When I was down in the States, getting drunk in my hotel room was fun. Even, being on the I-5, it had its moments where it was kind of cool being in the I-5. Not all of them were great. Sometimes it was long and boring, but it is what it is. And some of the little towns we passed by were quaint, but not Methford. Methford was not a very big town, but for some reason my brother had this thing where we had to go to, oh, what's that restaurant called? It serves burgers. Oh, it's not important, but it was a weird little town, okay? Medford is what it was called, but it's nicknamed Methford because I suppose a lot of people smoke meth around there or something like that, or whatever you do with meth. I don't even know what you do with meth. I had no interest in learning about that. Um, but everyone assumes also, getting back to the sound wave thing, that it affects your brain. Well, guess what? Depending on what certain chemicals, it can affect other things too. I suppose it could induce diarrhea. It could induce your stomach to compress, like deflate almost like a balloon, and that would be an unusual feeling. Uh, it could cause other physical things, and based on whatever medication you're taking, especially if you're buying government sanctioned marijuana with you don't know what, and the douchebag on the counter doesn't know what, and you may go, oh man, like that space rocket or purple ganoush or something like that, and you may go, whoa, you got so many options, man. And it's like, do you really? You're paying to get experimented on. Think about that. Think about it good, long, and hard. And if the idiot behind the counter goes, no, man, it's organic, man, like, then, that's not convincing enough for me. I'm going to say that for a fact. And, this sort of mentality could have been applied to alcohol as well, and maybe it should in some ways. Um, However, people should be cognizant that this is quite the possibility. And some people may not agree, may not want to hear what I have to say. However, if that is how they feel, then don't spend 38 minutes watching my YouTube video. And you won't know, you won't care, and it doesn't matter. So, yeah, to sum everything up, dreams are dreams. They potentially could be influenced by sound wave emitters and social circumstances along with physical ones, depending if you're taking medication or not. And basically putting anything in your body could be construed as a type of medication. I mean, personally, I don't look at alcohol that way, but some people go, oh, well, if you're an alcoholic, you're self-medicating. I disagree. I think alcohol's a food type product, and it is our own will if we want to drink or not. And I don't think some pointy-ass, easily offended fucking bureaucrat should stand in my way of being able to consume alcohol, especially if I do not have a car or a license or any interest in getting a car or license at this point in time. So, with all that said, gonna finish up this video right here, and I will talk to you people later. Have a good day.